Welcome back, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Speaking of Reading. Today I'm joined by Ashley Harper, an innovative educator and head of school at Wakefield School in the Plains, Virginia. Ashley, thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a bit about your background as an educator?
Yes, thank you, Jenna. I've had the privilege of serving in school leadership for more than 20 years now, with about a decade's experience in the classroom as an elementary school educator, and then with administrative roles in both lower, middle, and upper schools. And now I have the privilege of leading Wakefield School. So it's just a pleasure to be here today and to talk about reading and reading acquisition for our students.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Ashley. So why is it important for a school to have a variety of books available to students?
Oh, well, in today's day and age, the first thing that I love about what you said is, why is it important to have books? And so the first thing that I would say is that having a variety of different mediums that students can engage with literature and with the types of texts that are important to their learning can broaden their horizons. Every day we're working to make sure that we're not only empowering our students to learn, but also helping them define their passions and to identify areas of interest or things that they might not have thought about or new horizons. And so the more genres, the more texts that we have, the more ways that they can engage with words, the better off they're going to be in their long-term learning.
How do you differentiate that, say, at lower school to middle school to upper school? Do you differentiate, or is it the same? How do you approach that?
I know, it's such a hard question, isn't it? And I think one of the challenges that educators face is that in the instruction of literacy, we are oftentimes limiting what our students are reading, and it's far more prescribed than we might want it to be. And so on the one hand, we have best practices and what we know about reading and teaching of reading and literacy and how students are moving forward with that. That critical crux at around third grade, where we move from learning to read to reading to learn, right? And what those transitions look like. But then we also lose in some of that the beauty of things like picture books.
Yeah.
For example, recently I was in the senior lounge of all places, and we were talking about reading to the littles, and I mentioned one of the books I brought with me today, Make Way for Ducklings, and to hear the squeals of 17 and 18-year-olds remembering the first time they engaged with Robert McCloskey is just one of the joys of being with children, isn't it? And even when they're 17 and 18, having their own recollections of stories that meant something to them.
Can you tell me a bit more about that program where you've got seniors reading to the littles in the school? What does that do, and sort of what is that program all about?
Sure. For us, we call it our buddy program, and it's another one of the ways that we're mentoring what it means to be a lifelong learner and to demonstrate for our littles what it looks like to be an engaged citizen and an engaged individual in what's happening around them. And so oftentimes our students in 6th grade and beyond will come back to the classrooms for junior kindergarten, first grade, and read to the students and be a part of it, whether it is the younger students reading to them, and sharing stories that they've written or books that they're decoding for the first time, or our older students coming back and sharing their stories with the younger students. And what it builds is not only community and camaraderie within our own school and our own school community, but it's starting to help both the older students demonstrate their love of learning to the younger students, and younger students seeing that demonstrated for them.
How fantastic.
It is.
Thank you all for joining us on this episode of Speaking of Reading. If you'd like to follow along and join us for more episodes, you can find links in the description, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.